Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Emily Lamb, and I'm a project officer joining today from the Schlegel-UW Research Institute for Aging. We call ourselves the RIA for short, and we're based in Waterloo, Ontario. I did want to get us started off with a land acknowledgement from the RIA. The RIA acknowledges that we are on the traditional territory of the Attawandaron, Anishinaabe, and Haudenosaunee peoples. The RIA is situated on the Haldimand Tract, which is a land promised to the Six Nations that includes 6 miles on each side of the Grand River. We further acknowledge that many other nations are represented today at this event, and we hold deep respect for Indigenous histories and recognize the enduring presence and resilience of Indigenous and treaty peoples in this area and across Canada. This acknowledgement is a reminder that we are all accountable to these relationships, and we have a part to play in reconciliation. We commit to build relationships that enhance and better serve the needs of Indigenous people and all others experiencing dementia or partnering in their care. So welcome everyone again. We're really excited to have you here for this event, Exercise and Dementia. And I just want to start by mentioning that this event is being hosted by CD Learn, which is the Canadian Dementia Learning and Resource Network. We like our abbreviations. Everything seems to have a long name with lots of abbreviations. But for those that might not have heard of CD Learn before, CD Learn is a knowledge hub that facilitates collaboration between community-based projects across Canada and amplifies their successes. Led by the Schlegel-UW Research Institute for Aging, CD Learn and the community-based projects are funded by the Public Health Agency of Canada. So these projects focus on the development of innovative tools, resources, and approaches that enhance the well-being of people living with dementia and care partners by increasing awareness, support, knowledge, and understanding of dementia. These innovations are shared broadly to support dementia policy and practice across Canada. Go ahead and take this time to introduce our speakers for today. We're happy to have Vanessa Barnes here. Vanessa is the project, she gave a little wave there. Thank you, Vanessa. Vanessa is the project manager for the Minds in Motion project with the Alzheimer's Society of Ontario. We also have Dr. Laura Middleton, who is a researcher at the University of Waterloo. She's involved in the Minds in Motion project as well as DREAM, another acronym, which is DREAM is the Dementia Resources for Eating, Activity, and Meaningful Inclusion. We will also be hearing from some wonderful panelists today with lived experience of dementia. We have Ernie and Eva Kovacs, I don't know if you want to give a wave as well, who have participated in the Minds in Motion program. So they'll be sharing about their experiences with that. And we also have Bill Hybeen, who is connected with the DREAM project and gave a little wave there as well. And he's passionate about physical health and well-being. So we look forward to hearing from them as the event goes on. With that, I will hand it over to Vanessa to get us started. And thanks everyone for being here today.
Thanks, Emily. Thank you, everybody, for having me today. We're going to actually start off with a short exercise just to kind of get you warmed up and some hearts pumping a little bit, give you a little taste of what we do in our Minds in Motion session. So for those of you who wish to join, you can do this either seated or standing. Typically, I would give a big spiel about safety in the beginning. Please only go at your comfort level. Wear comfortable shoes and smile and have some fun. There we go. Okay, so we're gonna just do a little bit of a warm up. So we're just paddling our feet and moving our arms. We always want to make sure that our ears are over our shoulders and our posture is as straight as we can be. We want to make sure that we're not holding our breath and that our shoulders are back and our chest is out. We're going to warm up our shoulders, so we're going to do some shoulder circles. Go back first. Then we're going to switch and we're going to go forward. Since the flood, heaven help a fool who falls in love. Now we're going to warm up our elbows, so we're going to just do some bicep curls, bringing our hands up to our shoulders, still moving our legs. Warming up those elbows. Okay, next we're going to warm up our legs. So we're going to point our toes to the front, to the side, to the back, and center. And we're going to do that 3 more times. Front, side, back, center. 1 more time. And switch legs. So front, side, back, center, holding onto a chair for balance if you need to. And front, side, back, center. 2 more. Front, side, back, center. All right. So we're going to go into this next song I've done for the last 6 years with all my Minds in Motion people. And we are going to, it's kind of a song that has special moves to it. So we're just going to pick up our march just a little bit. Remember, our shoulders are down and back. Chest is out, ears over our shoulders. And we're gonna bring our hands up and ready. Up, up, out, in, up, up, out, in. Nice and wide circles. Good, so now we're gonna do a side step. So side step. I usually like to throw a snap in this one. We're gonna come back to center and do it all over again. Up, up, out, in, up, up, out, in, big circles. Good. All right, we're gonna do some high knees, which means we're gonna bring our knees up and our arm across. Again, you can do this seated. You can hold on to a chair and just bring your knees up. We're gonna come back to center and do it all over again. Ready? Up, up, out, in, up, up, out, in, big circles. Good. So we're gonna do a side step, side kick this time. Side step, side kick. We're gonna come back to center. Get ready. Up, up, out, in, up, up, out, in, up, out, in, up, out, in, one big circle. And there's your warm up to exercise, everybody. It's just a little taste of Minds in Motion.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. That was a great way to start off our webinar. It would be great if we could do that every webinar, including our own CU Learn as well as others. I want to thank everyone for joining us for the webinar. And we look forward to sharing just a bit more about our projects. which are really have the core shared theme around promoting exercise and physical activity for people living with dementia and their family and friends. I'll start off before handing it to Vanessa to talk more about Minds in Motion. So some of you may have seen a recent report that came out of the Alzheimer's Society of Canada called the Landmark Study. It confirmed what we already knew. The number of people living with dementia will increase over the coming decades. It's thought that the number will double by 2030 and then nearly threefold by 2050. This is, of course, largely driven by the number of people in Canada at ages when dementia is more common. Now, importantly, this isn't supposed to be alarmist, setting a panic for the future. It's just meant to help us prepare today, prevention where possible, and to support people to live well with dementia. And that can mean promoting preventative factors. And exercise is certainly one of those. People who are physically active have about 30 to 40% reduced risk of dementia. But it also is meant to give us time to prepare and create a supportive community, programs and services, and healthcare for those who experience dementia. And I would argue that exercise is important there as well. One of the focuses of Canada's first national dementia strategy is improving the quality of life of people living with dementia and care partners. And I think both of our programs fall under this strategy. Exercise is one key strategy, not only to prevent or reduce the risk of dementia, but also to improve quality of life and well-being of both people living with dementia and their care partners, which is what we're focusing on here. First, there's substantial evidence to suggest that physical activity improves the functional abilities and independence of people living with dementia, just as it does for people without cognitive impairment. The underlying reasons for this improvement are likely multiple, but probably include improvements in strength, balance, and mobility, improvements in fitness, and possibly also improvements in cognitive abilities. But when we have talked to people living with dementia and their families, they often talk about this social and mental well-being benefits of physical activity first. People living with dementia who are physically active can experience joy and social support, companionship, and encouragements from other people in the program, as well as from program leaders like Vanessa. They feel a sense of community. The benefits they gain through physical activity can improve their confidence, both in the physical activity itself, as well as in their day-to-day lives. Those who are lifelong athletes or exercises can maintain their sense of identity through physical activity. Now I'll talk about cognitive engagement as well, as it's part of the Minds in Motion program. Though the evidence for benefits of cognitive stimulation aren't as extensive, there's also growing evidence that a variety of types of cognitive stimulation can also benefit the abilities, mood, and quality of life of people living with dementia. In addition to the general cognitive benefits, they also experience better ability to communicate and interact with others in social situations. Now, someone already mentioned this in the chat, but it was with these benefits in mind that Minds in Motion program was conceived in Ontario. Back in 2013, the Ontario Brain Institute funded the development of the Minds in Motion program. It included exercise alongside mental and social stimulation. At the time, informed by therapeutic recreation. The 2-year pilot of the Minds in Motion program was funded by the Trillium Foundation in 2014. Evidence was strong, as we'll see on the next slide, for benefits with the program. And most optimistically, these benefits were experienced by both people living with dementia and care partners. The success of the pilot led to the expansion of Minds in Motion following the pilot, as well as additional grants. And as Vanessa will talk about, the rapid transition to virtual Minds in Motion during COVID-19. But before I hand it off, I'll just mention a couple. Actually, this is where I'm handing it off to Vanessa. So Vanessa, I apologize. So I'll hand it over so you can run your slides yourself.
Perfect. Okay. So the Minds in Motion program, it's an 8-week program for people living with mild to moderate dementia and their care partners. For in-person program, sessions are held once a week for 2 hours, and for virtual sessions, they're held once a week for 1.5 hours. The first part of each Minds in Motion session consists of exercise followed by social activation, which includes discussions, guest speakers, and games. Up until COVID, this program was only offered in person, either at a local Alzheimer's Society location or in collaboration with a community partner such as a senior center. Through the Minds in Motion program, both the person living with dementia and their care partner can benefit from the following. Increasing physical activity through gentle exercise, establishing new friendships with others who are living with similar experiences, and engaging in fun social activities. So benefits of the Minds in Motion program, people love the program. So over 80% re-register for the program, whether it's in person or virtual, or they'll do a mix of both. They've improved well-being, improved physical fitness, endurance and strength, shoulder range of motion, and increased physical activity. So the rationale behind virtual Minds in Motion program was COVID. So the transition, all stimulated by the fact that the country, the world shut down, and we didn't have the ability to meet in person. What's become clear is that virtual program is likely here to stay for the long term. While we are offering this programming in person, having virtual options improve the accessibility of the Minds in Motion program, both to different geographies, but also without the normal catchment. So it is open to people across the province, even if you don't live in the local society's area that's offering the virtual session. It helps to overcome transportation and time barriers so that new participants can join in or existing participants can join more often. So through the virtual Minds in Motion project, we wanted to be able to show that the program delivered virtually is beneficial similarly to when it is delivered in person. We wanted to develop an adapted virtual version of Minds in Motion that is an evidence-based, person-centered, consistent, safe, and an effective way to provide physical activity, cognitive stimulation, health promotion, and socialization for people living with dementia and their care partners. We also wanted to explore safety in the context of virtual delivery, should someone experience a health crisis while participating. Through outreach, we have been able to recruit participants from underserved areas such as rural and remote areas. The framework for social and cognitive stimulation has been updated using current research and was implemented into the virtual Minds in Motion sessions. After the evaluation process is completed, we will be sharing the new updated Minds in Motion manual to all Alzheimer's societies in Ontario for the delivery of both in-person and virtual Minds in Motion. So not everyone exercises in the same way. We found that by having 2 facilitators demonstrating both seated and standing versions of the exercises was beneficial to our participants. It is also helpful to have a third person to assist with any technical difficulties and in case of an emergency. Both facilitators are spotlighted so that the participants can follow easily on the screen. It is important that the main exercise facilitator has a headset with a microphone and that they share sound only so that the facilitator can be seen and heard, and the music can also be heard clearly. In order to minimize sound interruption, we mute all participants during the exercises. One of the reasons for streamlining this program for virtual delivery was to ensure the safety of our participants. By having participants keep their camera on during the session, it allows for the facilitators to monitor in case of an emergency. A safety script was created and is shared prior to each session, helping to ensure a safe exercise environment for our participants. We have asked that all participants have a phone close by in case of an emergency, and we have to call them to check in or if they need to call emergency services. We also ask participants to let us know if they need to go off screen by writing in the chat or getting the attention of the facilitator or volunteer. When delivering exercises, the facilitators need to be clear and concise with their instructions. It's important to describe and demonstrate the exercise as they do them for ease of following along. People exercise at different levels, so showing different levels of difficulty will help to meet the needs of participants. So, excuse me, the implementation and evaluation of the Minds in Motion program. We have 5 societies involved within the project itself, and each society has committed to offering 6 8-week sessions over the course of the project. To date, we have had 95 participants complete the program out of the 114 who have joined, and we are continuing to run more sessions over the course of the next few months as well. Excuse me, the preliminary benefits of the virtual Minds in Motion. So everything we've done up to this far, participants experience improved well-being of both people living with dementia and their care partners. They've increased physical activities, complicated by changes in season. So we found that during the winter months, a lot of people were joining in for the virtual Minds in Motion sessions because the weather was not conducive to being outside and walking on the icy sidewalks. And they've also increased cognitive activity levels. So our final results will come end of February, beginning of March. So now I would like to invite Ernie and Eva on the screen with me. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us today. So first of all, can you tell us a little bit about yourselves and where you're from?
We're how far back do you want to go?
Just the last little bit.
Where we live now?
Where you live now, yeah.
Okay, start there.
Okay, so we've lived in Lindsay since 1973, and sometimes right in town and sometimes just outside of town in the country. And just last year we moved from Lindsay back out in the country. We were at the base of Pigeon Lake. We're across from the lake. Our daughter and family has a place on the lake, so we have the best of both worlds. We have a beautiful view from our side, and if we want to go on the lake or share lake life with them, we just cross the road and they're there. What else can we say? Oh yeah, well, I guess you're interested in how we got into the whole Minds in Motion thing. I would say about 4 years ago, I started noticing Eva forgetting things, and sorry about that.
That's okay. Take your time.
And our daughters, we have 3 daughters, and we're all very close and they're very supportive. One of our daughters lives with us, and the other one lives across the road, as I mentioned. And our eldest daughter, she's also within half an hour's drive from us. Anyway,
We see each other often,
That's
daily
good.
for the across the road kids and their kids. Yeah,
That makes it nice.
nice.
Good.
so anyway, so we had our doctor do memory tests for Eva, and then she was referred to Dr. Ingram in Peterborough, who's the geriatrician, and she made the diagnosis. And so our kids were looking at ways to improve and help Eva as much as possible. And they came up with the Minds in Motion program, and which neither of us knew anything about, and we weren't we weren't particularly keen on joining. But in last January, we tried one of the virtual sessions, and the rest is history. It's been absolutely amazing. A lot of fun, great exercise.
And you people are wonderful girls, or that it was really nice. We enjoy you, having you.
Oh, thanks, Eva. I know that the girls up there enjoy having you guys as well. So how has the program benefited you, Ernie and Eva?
Well, you pretty well outlined the whole thing, Vanessa, when you told us about the goals and the methods used in the Minds in Motion program. And it started, like I said, we really weren't interested in going at all. And we have to give a lot of credit to the girls that run the program. It was so much fun. The exercises were great. And it forced us to do exercises during the inclement weather. And that was right in the middle of COVID lockdown too. So it was all virtual. We did it about 3 times a week, I believe. And it just, it made us physically more fit. It made us more socially active, and we just feel that it's been the best thing ever for us. I think it's the virtual program, as you mentioned, should continue, and I think if people, especially during the winter time, but it has all these advantages of people that don't have access to a facility or can't get to the live program. It's just as much fun doing it like this virtually, and you get the same benefits from the comfort of your own home, and it's something to look forward to. It's a program, it's socialization, a lot of laughter, because these people just have such a great attitude, and laughter is one of the best therapies. So we just can't say enough about it.
Well, thank you so much, Ernie and Eva, for joining us. I really appreciate it, and I'm glad you enjoy Minds in Motion. I'm glad that you kept with it, so that's wonderful. Thank you again so much. I'm going to pass it on over to Laura now, and she will share all about DREAM.
Thank you so much, Ernie and Eva. It's always the personal stories that have the most impact in understanding the programs and benefits. So really appreciate you coming on to share your experience.
Thank you.
before we go on to DREAM, I will say if you're interested in participating in Minds in Motion or finding out more, you can email Vanessa at MIM for Minds in Motion project at alzheimerontario.ca. So now I'll talk about our DREAM project, Dementia Resources for Eating, Activity, and Meaningful Inclusion. What's interesting is that, this project and its predecessor really came from the Minds in Motion original pilot and evaluation, which I was involved with alongside Alzheimer's Society of Ontario. Oh, sorry. I'm playing with my finger at the same time. What we found in our evaluation is that Minds in Motion really, it did increase the physical activity levels of the participants, but it generally increased it by 1 time a week. So it was great and it was effective and people love it, just like Ernie and Eva, but it's not enough if we really want to get people to targets, especially before virtual. Now we have virtual and people can participate more often. But it was clear that we needed more support, either because we wanted more programs, but also because people just have different abilities and preferences for programming. And what we know is that the right to participate in physical activity programs is enshrined by the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability. It ensures the equal access to habilitation and rehabilitation for all persons living with dementia. And what's included there is any strategies that help maintain independence, physical, mental, and social ability, and full inclusion and participation. For me, these strategies, and probably the one with the most evidence, is actually exercise. To ensure that people have access to these habilitation and rehabilitation strategies, the supports should be available as soon after diagnosis as possible. They should be available in your communities close to home, and they should be available in formats that support inclusion and participation in your community. So when we started this project, what was available? Well, Minds in Motion, this project that I'm talking about arose from Minds in Motion, essentially. And other than that, there was very little. There was day programs, but those were often very gentle movement as opposed to purposeful exercise. And we know, again, that no one program can be right for everyone. People have different preferences, different abilities, different sport and exercise history. So we want a wide variety of programs available. So what we need, in my mind, is community programs that are designed to include people living with dementia alongside of other community members. And so that's where the DREAM predecessor project came from. What we knew is there weren't enough opportunities, and so our vision of this project was to create greater number, quality, and variety of physical activity opportunities available to people living with dementia in Canada, so that they can experience the physical, mental, and social benefits of exercise. After some background research that we did and many discussions amongst our team, we decided that one of the best ways to do this would be by creating training and resources so that exercise providers in the community had the knowledge and skills to include people living with dementia in their exercise programs. And so that's when we created our Dementia Inclusive Choices for Exercise project, or training and resources, or our DICE, another acronym. Here you can see the diverse DICE team. On the left, our research team, and then on our right, a few more people that participated in our co-design. And you can see Bill as a core member of both of these teams. I'm circling him here, right. But alongside him, we have additional people living with dementia, a care partner, and a diverse team of researchers and stakeholders that guided all phases of our project. We were really lucky to have a really respectful, passionate, and determined group, both in our research team, as well as when we engage additional people in our co-design workshop where we really fleshed out the content and format of our training and resources. In the end, we developed 4 overarching tools and assembled other resources. We have a training module that's again meant to give exercise providers the knowledge and skills to include and support people living with dementia in exercise. Embedded into the training and also available standalone, both on our website and on our YouTube channel, we also developed a series of destigmatizing videos featuring people living with dementia, care partners, and exercise providers. I would argue that it's the videos that have had the most impact of all the resources that we developed. We also developed and include a wide variety of resources targeted to people living with dementia and their family members to give them the knowledge and confidence to be active. Now, when we evaluated the DICE training and resources, we found that the knowledge and attitudes about dementia amongst exercise providers improved, and they grew more confident to support people living with dementia in exercise. The exercise providers described that they had better understanding of the diversity of people living with dementia and their experiences, that they now planned to support the rights of people living with dementia in exercise by proactively planning for their inclusion in their programs and services. Now, how did we get from DICE to DREAM? Well, first of all, we know healthy living, as much as exercise is important, it's also about more than just exercise. Our team saw an opportunity to create training that targets more elements of well-being, specifically healthy eating. Also, we know not all programs and services are in gyms or community centers. Staff and volunteers work in a broad array of centers to provide wellness supports to community members. This includes cultural centers, places of worship, and more. So our goal in our DREAM project was to evolve DICE to include healthy eating, but also to make sure all content was relevant to this broad array of organizations that are supporting the wellness of our community members. And so like DICE, our DREAM research team includes several people living with dementia, care partners, and other stakeholders, dietitians, exercise providers, and members of cultural organizations. I also highlight that this project is a collaboration across many organizations as well. And some of these relationships have actually been developed through partnerships in CD Learn. And so in the end, similar to DICE, the DREAM website includes training modules and a manual meant for community service providers broadly to support people living with dementia to be active and to eat well. We also have additional destigmatizing videos, a wallet card to help people living with dementia to communicate their needs, and an additional resources, again, for people living with dementia and their family members to get the knowledge and skills needed to be active and eat well. This was all co-designed in a very intense process that was accelerated due to the duration of our project, in that it was only two years. And we did a lot of that by email and Zoom meetings, again, during COVID, to evolve the content and format, to add resources where some were needed, until we had our finalized website and modules. You can find all this on our website, which is www.dementiawellnesscanada.com. In addition, just to show you a brief outline of the training modules, we start from some core modules that are about understanding the diversity of dementia, the rights of people living with dementia to inclusion, highlighting both international perspectives as well as our Canadian Charter of Rights of Persons with Dementia, some core dementia inclusive principles focusing on communication, for example, and then our targeted healthy wellness, so the benefits of physical activity and how you can make physical activity inclusive, the benefits of healthy eating, and how you can make meal times inclusive. So where are we now? We're in the midst of the evaluation and nearing the end. So we finished the co-design, last summer, and then did initial usability testing to make sure everything worked as we expected. Then we started our full implementation and evaluation in the spring. We're reaching out to you because we're continuing to recruit just for a few more weeks. If you're interested in learning more from the DREAM training or resources, and if you're willing to take part in our evaluation, feel free to reach out to us at dementiawellness@uwaterloo.ca. We're especially looking for people with dementia and their friends or family to learn from the resources that we prepared directly for them. And in the meantime, keep your eyes out for our broader launch, which will come in late winter 2023. First question for you, Bill, is why are you so passionate about physical activity?
I think part of it goes back to what I do, and I'm fortunate in what I do. At the time I was diagnosed with early onset dementia, I was a partner with Ernst & Young. But at the same time, my wife and I owned and operated Amethyst Farms, which was a 220-acre farming operation under which name we bred, trained, and have shown all registered quarter horses in Minnesota, Manitoba, Northwestern Ontario. Basically, at the time I was diagnosed, I really had no time to sit down and feel sorry for myself or to think a whole lot about what was going on. I had 11 horses in the barn at that time. 3 of my mares were due to foal in a 3-month period. So I had to immediately, because I was eligible for early retirement from Ernst & Young, I took early retirement and went to full-time farming, where I had been sort of a weekend farmer prior to that. I personally think it is the activity of the farming that has put me in the position I'm still in. The original diagnosis for me was made January of the year 2000. And at that time, the doctors basically said, because I was receiving a fairly early diagnosis, they put me on medication right away, that I could expect 5 good years. And as a result of diagnosis, this is when I really made the decision to take early retirement. But again, because the diagnosis or the disease had not progressed the way it was supposed to, I was again run through every test in the books in 2008. This time in 2008, they basically said, same diagnosis, early onset Alzheimer's, but because you've made 8 years where we had given you 5, we doubt you'll get another 3. Well, approximately 5-6 years ago, I was again run through every test in the books. This time, what they basically said to me was, we don't know what you're doing. Whatever you're doing, don't stop. There's been very minimal declines in most of the things, with the exception of basically, if somebody tells me something, the chance of me remembering it is not good. I have to write it down, see it. If I see it, I have a fighting chance of remembering it. So I think the reason that I've done so well is the physical activity about which what I do. The constant work in the barns, the work at haying season, and in addition, I heat the house with wood. Basically, I have 4 beaver ponds in the back of my property, and I'm in conjunction with there's a conglomerate back there, cooperative of beavers under the name of Beaver Timber and Logging. Their job is to knock the trees down. They eat the branches, they eat the leaves, but they leave me the trunks. So I then take the big tractor, go back, buck up, which is an interesting beaver term, buck up the trunks, bring those back up to the house, split, and that's my firewood for the following winter. So I am physically active on a 7-day a week basis. For instance, this morning, I've already spent an hour and a half in the barn. And because my horses are now on winter hours, being in at night because of the weather conditions and so forth, I do a lot more shoveling than normal. In addition, I think a lot of you know Nisha Sutherland, who's a professor at Lakehead University, and you probably know Carlina as well. Nisha, Carlina, and a number of Elaine Wiersma's PhD students are coming out on Saturday. This is a regular occurrence. We do bushwalks. I've got approximately 3 miles of bush trails that I use for walking purposes. I also use them for horse training, and in the winter for snowshoeing. Well, if the forecast for this weekend is correct, by Saturday, we'll have 30 centimeters of snow on the ground. So this could be our very first snowshoe outing of the year. I
Well,
think that's about it.
when you frame it as the very first of the year, it sounds more exciting than the arrival of 30 centimeters of snow would otherwise.
Oh, don't forget, we had over 6 feet last year.
Yeah, I know, it was crazy.
Yeah.
I'm going to finish with one question, one brief question for you, because I know we'd like to open it to the audience. But so your physical activity in practice looks a lot different than most other people's do. Most people don't have a horse farm to look after. But I'm wondering, even so, what advice do you have for other people who are living with dementia, either about staying active or broadly?
Well, in addition, I know Vanessa talked about her dog. I don't know if you can see this guy, maybe not, but there's an Alaskan Malamute sitting back there who's management. He runs the place and I'm labor. He's rested because he spent the morning in the barn, but every afternoon we have to go back, see the beavers, do a big walk in the bush. So I think having a dog or having any type of animal, something to get you out of the house. Personally, to me, there's nothing greater than spending time out in the quiet bush. I don't know, it's just something about being in the bush that appeals to me. I think that's probably about it.
Well, and we heard that again and again from other people too, is getting outside, often with either friends or family or with pets, was a really meaningful type of physical activity.
Yeah. In addition, as you know, Laura, the number of research projects with you and with Elaine here that I'm involved with, this keeps me out socially. I spend a lot of time with other people. So in addition to the physical exercise, I'm getting that social aspect on a regular basis.
Yeah. Yeah, you are a very social person. You haven't even mentioned that you play in a band.
Oh, yeah, well, okay.
That's another discussion for another day, maybe.
For the last 48 years, I've been the bass player with the Bottom of the Barrel.
Awesome.
Which is a big band, swing Dixieland band in Thunder Bay here.
Yeah, one of these days I'll get to hear it.
Oh, yes.
I think I'm now handing it back to Emily, who will facilitate any questions from the audience. Thanks, Bill.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Laura and Bill. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, so just wondering if we had any questions from the audience. We have the Q&A feature. You can type your questions down there. We also have the chat open as well. So if that's easier, feel free to just type a question in. You're also welcome to raise your hand virtually. We can keep an eye out for any hands that have been raised, but yeah, feel free to go ahead and throw a question out there.
I can ask a question. I'm going to ask it to Ernie and Eva, if you're okay with that. You mentioned that you were not interested in the program at all at the beginning. How was your experience different from what you expected it to be?
Yeah.
I guess I was the slow one to accept it. And but then when we did go, as we said, the ladies and whoever is there doing the whole program, they're also wonderful. And we have a lot of fun, enjoy ourselves, and we have a lot of laughs.
Awesome.
So it's great.
And, referring back to Bill's solution to dealing with it, it's incredible. This is probably the best therapy there is, or the best cure there is, because your lifestyle is absolutely amazing. What you've done. We were trying to do a similar thing. We live in the country. We do have a dog. We have family here. We walk out in the woods a lot.
Because of the dog mainly, but
Yeah.
no, we all love walking the woods, in the woods. We have a small area of woods and it's just beautiful.
As I said, the dog is management, we're labor.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you're a real inspiration, Bill, and we're gonna try and emulate what you've done a little more because your success is amazing.
Well, I'm in my 23rd year, and in
yeah.
all honesty, I realize that not everybody is in the position I'm in
Yeah,
with where I am and what I do. But at
Yeah.
the same time, don't sit there and look at a wall. If you can get out and do something and be with people, by all means, do it.
that's the answer. And sometimes you gotta give yourself a little kick in the rear to get going, but it's worth it.
Yeah,
Thank you
and when-
so
And when
much.
it's a horse that kicks you, you know it.
Yeah.
I do see Myrna Norman has her hand raised. So Myrna, would you like to go ahead and ask your question? I think I have to unmute you here. Where did she go?
Here I am.
Oh,
Can you hear
perfect.
me?
Yes,
Alrighty.
thank you.
Hi, everyone. It's lovely to see you all. My point is more of a concern than it is a question. Most of us, when we're diagnosed, are told to go home and get our affairs in order, which to some of it literally means go home and get ready to die. And we spend some time in a cocoon, and that can be up to 2 years or even the rest of our lives. So how do we change that mindset when we leave the doctor's office that, hey, we have an opportunity to live well and live joyfully because nobody tells us?
Yeah. Well, listen to a guy like Bill. I mean,
Well-
that's a success story if I ever heard one. And no doctor can do it beyond that. That's just the best way, the most natural way to deal with it, instead of trying to throw drugs at you and this kind of thing. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
I-
again,
Bill's advice.
Myrna, as I said before, I'm fortunate in what I do, but it was the fact of having the animals and the horses that I think got me over the initial thing where the doctors basically said, and just as you said, go home, get your will in order. You've got this amount of time, get yourself prepared, get your power of attorney up to date, the whole deal.
Yeah.
And by the way, the band that I play with, our piano player is a doctor, and his basic words to me at the time was, don't listen to what doctors tell you.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think we need to change the conversation from the doctor's end too. My father-in-law, he passed away a couple of years ago, but he had a palliative, cancer diagnosis. It was all the treatment was palliative, but he was still given hope, that it could be somewhere around here, but you should go out. Here's your physical activity. Here's your counseling support. Here's your support group. Here's all these different supports that he got, still knowing it was, all the treatment was palliative. There wasn't going to be a cure, but you could live well for as long as possible.
Yeah.
I don't know why we're still far away from that with dementia. And I agree with Ernie in that I think the people who are really changing the perspective are people like Bill and Myrna and Phyllis and and Roger and all these big voices that have changed the perspectives more than anyone else.
Absolutely.
I agree.
There's one more question in the chat. There's a few questions, but I'm looking at our time, being mindful. We have 1 minute. Maybe we can sneak one more in here. There's a question around how do you encourage someone who has hip issues that gets aggravated with movement to go out and get active and stay active?
Well,
Yeah.
the whole Minds in Motion program is, as Vanessa outlined already, it's designed to meet people's comfort levels
Yeah.
and their ability levels. And if you're having hip problems, you do the exercises sitting down. You do the arm exercises, you do the stretches, the ball exercise, whatever.
Do what you
But-
can,
Exactly.
and it's
Absolutely.
good for you. It's great.
Yeah.
And
Any
don't
movement is
underestimate,
good movement.
don't underestimate the benefit of the social aspect of that, being with other people.
Exactly, exactly.
Absolutely.
No, I think somebody asked why were we reluctant to start in Minds in Motion altogether? Because I just could not imagine anything being so beneficial, and we had to actually be dragged kicking and screaming to accept it and to try it. And that's all it took, that one session. And beyond that, we've been sold and recommended to everybody as one way of dealing with it. In addition.
That's wonderful. That's so great to hear. Thank you so much. Yeah, so that brings us to our hour. Unfortunately, we're already at the end. There were a few more questions in the chat as well as a Q&A. So I think what we can do is when we send out our follow-up email with the recording and everything, if it's all right, Laura and Vanessa, maybe we can include your contact information if people want to reach out and ask more about kind of logistics, or, were there any challenges with Zoom and things like that? Maybe you'd be able to respond to them directly if anything comes up.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. With that, I just wanted to say a big thank you to all of our panelists today, to Ernie and Eva and Bill. Thank you so much for being here and for sharing about your experiences and just being very open and kind of letting us in to hear those experiences and those insights. So thank you so much. We appreciate you being here. And thank you to Laura and Vanessa as well for talking about your projects and the benefits of physical activity and how to make exercise more dementia friendly as well. So thank you so much for that. It was wonderful to see you today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Everyone.
You too.